Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you all. All praises due to the Almighty, and may His peace and blessings be upon all His prophets. Dear listeners, dear students and dear friends, I welcome you to the 9th episode of English Podcast with Asif. In the previous episode, we talked about public speaking, and I am really very thankful to all of you for the support, for the comments and likes and sharing of the episode, and for your feedback of the episode. And I thank you very much, and I thank Mr. Waqas Khan that he took out some time for all of us, and I thank you all for your support, and I thank Almighty for really making it helpful for all of you. So today we are continuing the previous episode, that was public speaking. In the previous episode, I would like to recapitulate a bit. I'm sure that you know, and if you haven't listened to that podcast, that episode, that was 8th episode, if you haven't listened to that yet, please listen to that. I have put the link in the description box. So in the previous episode, we talked about public speaking, the scope of public speaking, the benefits of public speaking, and Mr. Waqas Khan talked about many things. He put forth many benefits and many scopes of that, of public speaking, he said that it can help us to be a good motivator, because if you have good public speaking skills and speaking skills, you can really motivate people. People around you need motivation in today's world, and motivation has really a great scope in today's world. You can be a helper, you can really change somebody's life by your words if you are able to use the words wisely. And furthermore, he talked about influencing people, creating social connections, and inspiring people, as I said already. And most important, that is I should say more important than these things for all of us, because we want to develop self-confidence, and the best way to attain self-confidence is public speaking. And furthermore, Mr. Waqas Khan talked about public speaking being helpful in order to be an influential leader, and he gave some examples from the history, like the example of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that he was a wonderful public speaker, and that's how he could spread his message and inspire action in his followers. And that's why we see plenty of followers still, even after 1400 years. It's actually the miracle of public speaking, the words that he would speak. May Allah be pleased with him. And he gave many examples of other historical figures, like revolutionaries, like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Che Guevara, and so on and so forth. So simply, that if you have public speaking skills or speaking skills, speaking with public or speaking to people, then you have a really great tool to influence people and to sell your words. And if you are able to sell your words, you are the winner, because the only way we interact with people is speaking. And if you are good at that, then you can build a good relationships with others, and you can really sell your thoughts and sell your words. Furthermore, Mr. Waqas Khan talked about how we have to handle anxiety when we speak, and he gave many examples. I would not recapitulate them because it would take a lot of time, and Mr. Waqas Khan would not get much time, and you two will be tired of listening to me. So in today's episode, we are going to talk about because I have put forth, because the questions were sent to me by some students and by some listeners who listened to the podcast. They had sent me the questions, and I sent to Mr. Waqas Khan, and I thank them for sending their questions. And if you do have questions, I will be requesting Mr. Waqas Khan to to answer them in the upcoming episodes, or maybe he may take out some more time for all of us. So please ask questions in the comment box. We are really we will allow that. We'll appreciate that if you write something in the comment box, if you write your feedbacks, your questions, and sometimes you want to share your insights, your ideas, you can share them in the comment box, and I may share those thoughts of yours in the next episode. So feel free to write to us. We will be appreciating that. So in today's podcast, we have some two important questions, like how can or what can, I should say, make a best speech or speaker? What should be the qualities of a good public speaker and a good public speech? And Mr. Waqas Khan is going to talk about that. And furthermore, one important question is that does reading matter as far as speaking is concerned? And Mr. Waqas Khan is going to talk about that also. That's very important question, that if you have to be a good public speaker, do you have to read also? This is very important question. You got to listen to that, and that's going to be very, very helpful to all of you. So I thank you again for signing in, for listening to this podcast. Please take out some more time to listen to Mr. Waqas. That's going to be very, very beneficial for all of us. So here we go.
The third question is how to handle up speech when you forget any fact while speaking. There are three things you have to always be very much sure about. The first thing is your language. If you're choosing a language, it can be English, it can be Urdu, it can be any other language. First of all, you have to be very skilled in the language that you're choosing to speak in. The second thing is that you have to be very much sure about learning all what you have done in your preparation outline or speech outline. You have to remember every single word. You don't have to cram it, you just have to learn it by heart. And if your language is good enough, it will not matter much. But if you forget a fact, I mean, if we are just talking about any fact, if you forget it, you forget it. That's it. You don't just have to repeat and just, pucker your forehead and, move your finger around your temples and think, oh, I forgot something, now I got to remind myself of the same fact. Just skip it and just move on. You have to get along with the speech. If you know, if you think, and if you feel, or if you anticipate that there is something that you're going to miss or you're not able to remind yourself of, you can just tell your audience that I just forgot a fact which I was going to share with you, but let's move on. That's it. You have to accept what problems occur in your speech. There's this big mistake. This is a big mistake in public speaking, that if a person who is not a native speaker of English, like we all are, like I am, I don't know who is listening to it, but I am, and mostly the audience or mostly the listeners who are listening to this podcast are not native speakers of English language, we do commit grammatical mistakes. I committed many grammatical mistakes while talking to you in this podcast. But I am not someone who is going to say, for example, like I say, she's it's very hard for me sometimes to to commit a deliberate grammatical mistake. But sometimes we use his instead of her. We use themselves rather than themselves. So, and there are many public speakers who say, like, for example, they themselves do not know it, and they say he goes like they themselves. So sometimes audience wants you to win. I mean, you don't have to remind audience, and audience forgets. Audience tends to forget the mistakes that you commit grammatically, or maybe sometimes in pronunciation, or maybe sometimes in vocabulary, or sometimes you forget a fact. They just want you to win over them, and they do not want to be reminded of the mistakes that you just committed, and they skip that. So we should first of all, and we should particularly be very much sure about it, that it's okay to forget. Yeah, it's okay to forget, and you can there's a tip that you can have speech notes with you. Very crucial fact should not be missed, which can turn the tables over in a maybe in a debate competition, or maybe in a seminar, maybe in a webinar, maybe in a conference. So some of the very important facts you can just jot them down on a speech note. A speech note has to be like 1/4 of the size of A4 paper that we have, and that's how you're going to handle up speech when you forget any fact. You just don't have to handle it. Handling just means that you have to move along with the speech and just make audience, I mean, give audience something better than what you wanted to give them. A fact, maybe you can create an example or give an analogy or whatever. I hope I answered the question. The fourth question, it's very interesting. What makes a good speaker and speech? Well, it's a lecture itself. It's a speech one can, deliver. It's such a question, but I would like to give you like 5 tips. What makes a speaker a good speaker? Well, we all are speakers, and what makes a speech a good speech? Uh, I have a speech prepared for in answer of this thing, which I have delivered at many places, in many institutions, in many auditoriums. I have always, even I advise this to my students, that to become a good speaker, you just have to develop style, and style is an acronym, if I say so. I mean, every single letter stands for a skill. S stands for superiority complex. You got to have self-confidence. You got to have belief in your own self, and then only you can proceed further. If you do not have confidence, I mean, we all do not have absolute filled confidence in ourselves, but we all have some of it. It is just that you have to grow it and develop it by time, by practice, by learning skills, by listening to people who are good. The first thing is superiority complex. You always have to believe that you are the winner. You are going to lead. You are the leader. You are everything. I mean, you have the stage. You are the one who is going to influence. You are the one who is the master here. You are the one who is the boss here. The first thing is you have to have uh, confidence. You have to have superiority complex. Then goes the second letter of style, T, thought process, which I describe as something. It's the whole mixture of 3 great things: information, observation, and experience, which then concludes to one single thing, or which just mix, all these three things mix up and they make single entity, and that is knowledge. You got to have knowledge. You got to have knowledge, like you must be knowing something about everything and everything about something. Or rather, I should just paraphrase this particular proverb, a very famous proverb. You got to be jack of all trades and master of one, not none, but one. So you must be knowing something about everything. Then you can relate to all the kinds of audience that you have, and you also can give great examples. You can make great analogies, and then you can relate to audience, and it can help you to become a great speaker. And then we have the third letter in style, which is Y, which I believe and which I have, kept as, or for, yes. You have to always say to yourself, yes, yes, and yes. By yes here, I mean adding yes, I can. You have to again believe and say to yourself, I can. Maybe you commit some mistakes. Maybe you're not that good a speaker, but you always have to say to yourself that yes, I can. And also, yes stands for initiative. You don't have to sit in your home all day and think about, like, oh, tomorrow I have to, deliver a presentation in my college or university, or in your company or anywhere. But what you have to do is always take an initiative. Believe that you can and take the initiative. Just go there and do it and see. And don't be afraid. Don't just pain yourself before the actual event happens. Well, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen on the stage. So take the initiative. The fourth is L in the style, which is language. You got to have a great hold over the language. And we know right now that English has dominated the world in terms of language globally, and it has become lingua franca in the world. And we have to also understand one thing, that, or maybe you may be wishing to speak in Kashmiri or Urdu or Arabic or Persian or any other language that you're interested in, and some of it, but you have to develop your skills to an extent that you become at least you are confident, not like expert of the language. You don't have to become a linguist of a particular language, but you have to be very much sure what you speak. Be very much sure about the grammar. Be very much sure about the clarity of the language that you have. Be very much sure about later, but yeah, that's very much important. Be sure about your pronunciation, about your accent, about the words that you use, formal, informal. Language is a must. And the fifth is, which comes as the fifth letter in style, is expression. E, Style. I just numbered them. And I just defined them. Superiority complex, thought process. Sty is yes, and then it's L, which is language, and then it is E, expression. You have to have great expressions. And in public speaking, we call them presentation skills. You must be knowing what to wear, how to wear. You must be knowing how to walk on a stage, how to leave the stage, how to talk behind the podium, how to talk with an open mic, how to talk with a cordless mic, with a standing mic. Maybe sometimes there's a conference hall and you have to move around. You have to learn a lot of these presentation skills, which involves your hand gesticulation, which involves your voice and intonation, which involves your eye contact, which involves the use of stage, and a lot many things. So style should be in a speaker, and that's what is going to make him a great, not a good speaker, but a great speaker, a very great speaker. And then what makes speech better? Speech is in a way sometimes we sometimes confuse a write-up, the text with the speech. Speech includes your matter, and it includes which is what you have written, which is what you're going to speak. Matter. Well, remember three M's. It is matter, and it is the method how you write that matter, and then it's the manner, the presentation skills. If you have three M's, it's going to be absolutely a wonderful speech. You got to have great matter, you got to have great method to create, to write, to compile a speech, and then you got to have the manner to deliver it. That's what is going to make you. That's what is going to make us a speech a great speech. I hope I answered the questions. Is reading necessary for public speaking? It's the last question. Reading is not only necessary for public speaking. Reading is everything. If you do not read, you're not going to speak, or you're not going to write, which is much tougher than public speaking, personally, I believe. And reading is necessary, or rather, I should say, reading is the prerequisite. It's the basic condition. It's everything that you first of all need for public speaking. Because if you do not have anything to say, speaking will remain only speaking. Rather, it will not be even called speaking. I mean, technically speaking, if it will not be called speaking, it will be just called talks, mere talks. I mean, your talk becomes a thought when you have read something. Reading is what makes a speaker a great speaker. Reading is what makes a speaker worthy to be listened to. Reading is the backbone. Reading is the prerequisite. Reading is the fuel. Reading is what gives you confidence. Reading is life. For public speaking or for any other field, or even in this nuance of ours, reading should be there. If we do not read, it's going to dump our brains. It's going to dump and numb our brains. Reading is the fuel for brain. It's the food for brain. The very important and substantial thing that I'm going to tell you is that if you're not a good reader, you cannot become a good speaker. And if you're not even a good listener, you have to have a great listening power. You're not going to be a good public speaker. You got to have listening power, and you got to have that reading habit. Not only just reading habit, you got to have that ferocious reading habit. That's what is going to make you a great public speaking. And yes, it is the prerequisite. It is the first and foremost condition for public speaking. I hope I I answered all the questions. God bless you all. And again, I would like to thank Mr. Asif for providing me an opportunity to talk to people who are listening to it. And I pray to God that He blesses you all. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Waqas, for again sharing your ideas, sharing your thoughts, these beautiful thoughts to help us learn public speaking and be inspired to learn it. And dear listeners, I'm sure that this again was very, very beneficial for all of you. And if you like that, please share it with others also, so that they too can learn it. And if you have some suggestions, some questions, whatever you want to share with us, you can write that in comment box. Keep supporting us, and inshallah we will be back in the next episode. Till then, God be with you.